Who are these people?
Cory Booker on weed. We remember Jon Stewart back in that movie when he was cool. Um. Anyway, Cory Booker calls marijuana a dangerous drug and says he's frustrated with non-diverse industry.
Oh God.
I know. I'm sorry. I know.
Fucking.
So published by Robbie Yeager's stoner cousin.
Could
Kyle
they
Yeager.
find a less enthused smile? Like what kind of constipated half smirk is that? Like commit, dude. Jesus Christ.
You know the thing they have on like video games when your character is like you can't see the character and it's just like a random silhouette. Like if you it's like they turn on the lights on that silhouette and it's that guy. You know, it's just like thumb shape for a head.
That is Cory Booker at neutral for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. All the sliders at neutral. Is that what you're saying?
Yep.
Anyway, again,
when you hit randomizer on your politician creator, you get a Cory Booker.
Written by Robbie Yeager's stoner cousin Kyle Yeager. Over at Marijuana Moment, Senator Cory Booker says it's been frustrating to see marijuana legalization fall short of equity goals, which he said is partly due to ongoing federal prohibition. And while he's pushing for reform, he characterized cannabis as a dangerous drug that hasn't been studied enough. So pulling the old Clinton spawn line.
Of course he did.
What's Hillary's daughter's name? Didn't she Kelsey. Say that too? That's it. The senator who was long
I would believe that. Yeah.
For
that
equity-centered federal legalization and sponsored a bill to that end with Senator Majority Leader Chucky DeShume last year discussed the prospects of drug policy reform at a panel at Tisch College on Monday. Asked about which of his priorities could be achieved in the current Congress, Booker said that he believes that bipartisan lawmakers, see Book of Collin, chapter 4, verse 2, on bipartisanship, lawmakers will be able to pass legislation to eliminate the sentencing disparity between crack and powder cocaine, and that marijuana compromise legalization is also something that might happen. You know who is not going to benefit from that? Hunter Biden, because he doesn't care which one he gets. So, however, while cannabis legalization is something, quote, profoundly important to me, Booker said, that what is really frustrating me is I thought that legalizing marijuana would have a democratizing force on our country, and it has not. So he's blaming weed for the non-democratizing of the,
Sorry.
Terrible. No, this is exactly what you
Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
Yeah.
Just 10 minutes of me going.
Cory Booker's TED Talk. So here's the man. We have to watch him say these terrible things, unfortunately. So
damn it, do we really?
Buckle in.
By the way, there's going to be an exam after this.
We'll go back in time though for a day before copyright. Look at that.
Senators that went directly
this is how we
to the United States Senate. But let me turn to an issue that's of great concern, and actually an issue where you obviously reached out to and used your relationships with your colleagues. So you've been a leader in the fight for criminal justice reform for a long time, and you co-sponsored the First Step Act, which was passed into 2018. You were also the co-sponsor of the Next Step Act. And during the first year of the Biden administration, you negotiated with Senator Tim Scott, who, by the way, has been a speaker here before, and almost got to something, but negotiations did not succeed. Give us an idea of sort of where your current priorities are in this area, and what can you expect can be accomplished either in this Congress or in the following Congress in this area?
So I have a whole lot of priorities, but I'll try to answer the end of your question as specifically as possible. There are some things I hope we can get done in this Congress that are possible. We have Republican co-sponsors, for example, something called the Equal Act, which It is outrageous in the United States of America that still today, the penalties for powder cocaine and crystal or crack cocaine are so wildly different. They used to be 100 to 1. We got them to 18 to 1. And then with the First Step Act, just by making that retroactive, when they first got it to 18 to 1, they didn't make it retroactive. So there were literally people in jail for many years and watching people that came in and out with a significant less quantity. But we made that retroactive. Over 2,000 people were liberated from prison right away. And about 98% of them were Black and Latino. And so I've been fighting to make it 1-to-1, along with these incredible senators like Dick Durbin and Hakeem Jeffries, who's on the House side. And we got 11, it got passed out of the Senate, out of the House in the last Congress. And in the Senate, I got 11 Republican co-sponsors over that 60 vote threshold. But in the end of Congress, we just couldn't get it attached to a bill. So that's something that's possible. Marijuana reform is something profoundly important to me. And what is really frustrating me is I thought that legalizing marijuana would have a democratizing force on our country, and it has not. It is, number one, we're not seeing the kind of expungements. We have people who are using marijuana now legally.
Where it gets
well, privileged people have always used it quasi-legally. There weren't raids on Tufts campus for people smoking pot. Well, if you're Black in America, you're 4 times more likely to be arrested for marijuana than somebody that's white. But even the business side of this is not as fair and equal in terms of opportunity as you would think. And some of that is because we have failed to deschedule it. And so if you're a woman who gets a license, you can't get the capital necessary often to hold on to that license or start a business or to fund the business. So you have these multi-state operators funded by large hedge funds or large wealthy individuals who are going around, who are not diverse, who are going around buying up licenses from desperate people in communities where they thought they were going to help out, make sure that the very people who were disproportionately impacted by marijuana prohibition were now going to get an opportunity to help on the business side. But that is not happening. Marijuana businesses in the United States of America is overwhelmingly non-diverse white male. Women and minorities make up a tiny, tiny fraction, not in any way proportion to their numbers in America. And so this is an issue I've been working on, and frustratingly, but we've got some Republicans in dialogue with us, some compromise legislation. Those are 2 things that might happen. But the last thing I want to say is the limits of what happens in Congress are really the consciousness of our country.
This is where it's funny.
If you think that we get real change because of really good bald senators, you're wrong. I'm proud of the work we do, and we advance a lot of causes and get a lot of stuff done. My staff is extraordinary.
Right.
But change doesn't really come from Washington. It comes to Washington. I mean, there's some great leaders who led. So, I mean, people want to give LBJ a lot of credit for civil rights, but that ignores the reality that it wasn't a bunch of white guys on the Senate floor that came together one day and said, "Hey, fellas, let's give those Negroes some civil rights."
Okay, you know, I got nothing. I got nothing. Oh my god! Oh my god!
Isn't that bad?
Holy shit!
It gets better in a second,
dude.
So yeah,
for the first half of that, he is really working the Kamala Harris, just spinning around a core built of absolutely nothing, just building up your fantastic,
but hitting on some points,
like oh my god.
Well, I mean, what he said that the marijuana business is inherently racist, not because of the system that he himself was a part of.
Exactly. There you go. Like, I wonder which businesses have a harder time getting licenses or get raided by the cops more. Or like,
keep in mind what Booker did before he was a senator. Like, that's important here as well. So,
oh my god.
Yeah, we get super fun stuff.
So Jesus Christ.
Bless you.
Bless
you, my son.
Okay. Oh, just popped my sternum on that one.
Right.
Okay. All right. Oh, woof.
Phrasing.
So he said he's dissatisfied with the progress of expungements for people with prior cannabis convictions living in states where the plant is now legal, and also decried that the industry lacks critical diversity. So that's where he's starting here, right? So even the business side of this is not as fair and equal in terms of opportunity as you would think, and some of that is because we failed to deschedule it. Oh, who would have thunk that might be part of it? You fucking... Anyway, and some of that, like, so if you're a woman who gets a cannabis license, you can't get the capital necessary often to hold on to that license and start a business or to fund a business, which we know, right? It's why things like vertical integration is put into cannabis laws, like here in Florida, so that you have to pretty much own the entire, like, means of production to produce.
Yep.
So... So yeah, these multi-state operators funded by large hedge funds or large wealthy individuals who are not diverse, who are going around buying up licenses for desperate people in communities where they thought they were going to help make sure that the very people who are disproportionately impacted by marijuana prohibition were not going to get an opportunity to help on the business side, but that does not happen. Again, we heard him say this. Women and minorities make up a tiny fraction. So Booker made similar points about his concerns with the equity shortcomings of cannabis reform last year, right? Where he talks about the bipartisan banking and expungement legislation that ultimately did not come to pass. But during his discussion on Monday, he also asserted that marijuana is a dangerous drug that's been understudied. He said he shared the same concerns as an audience member who spoke about the risks of high-potency THC products. While Booker said that the status quo is untenable and will only lead to more discriminatory criminalization, the question is, what's the right way to move forward? That seems like why is it always forward with these types? You know, why not like sideways, diagonally? You know, something.
There's nothing wrong with lateral moves. That's all I've made at my job in the last 6 years.
Lateral move, just you bouncing back and forth in one spot. Oh, God,
it's called strafing, Dick. Try it.
Strafing. ADAD.
That was directed to Cory Booker. I wasn't calling you a dick.
No, yes, of course. How do I? Jesus Christ! It's like I do this every week and then forget how to do it. You know. There we go. So we got some more of this. I love this question from this lady too. Like, how wine mom scared do you have to be?
Okay, this is gonna be good.
Oh yeah, it's good.
Thank you so much. I'm Nancy Kilburn, and I'm a citizen of the neighboring area. I wanted to get back to medical marijuana, or legalization rather, of marijuana, something I was absolutely all for. I now have a 21-year-old who's grown up with the notion of medical marijuana and can now, it's been legalized now, and can get her hands on it, basically the business of marijuana.
Short question.
70% THC levels in vapes in high schools, kind of hallucinogenic levels, because it is a big business now.
Like,
so I kind of want to get your point, response.
That's, for one, that's not how you use it. Two, is that an issue?
Hallucinogenic levels.
Right. Obviously, she had a bad experience with edibles in
lady.
college.
Yeah, right.
You know, but like she was like talking about it in vapes. Yes, it's concentrated in those for a reason, so that like you don't like.
Oh my God.
Anyway,
it's about that.
I'm going to say very quickly that I'm going to violate the ambassador's request that it's a short answer. I'm going to give you a short answer, and I want to say a concluding word if I can. I have the same worries that you are. So the solution to that problem, I don't think, is continuing. I know you don't think this either, but I'm just trying to say that right now, I know that the way of the last 25 years is not the way to go, because more and more disadvantaged black and brown kids.
I love how he slides off camera to say the terrible shit. Like, just get right out of shot.
The question is what's the right way to move forward? This is a drug, and I think it's a dangerous drug. I really do. I think what it does, I think we haven't studied it enough. I think what's happening to the brain. I will tell you this. I think alcohol is a pretty damn dangerous drug as well. And as a guy who used to run a police department, my calls for alcohol-related accidents, injuries, violence, woo. And so you're talking to a guy, I'll be frank with everybody. I've never drank alcohol in my life. And when people ask me about brain health, as a guy that has studied a lot of it, again, I did something really risky called play football.
Now he wants to be called friend.
So maybe I'm not the right person to preach this. But if you have a child, or if you are younger than 25 and you're drinking or smoking pot, you are damaging your brain in ways that will severely affect your mental health, the well-being of your brain. And what people are, the studies and the data now on when you get to be like my age and what you've done to yourself, if you've lived that way of regularly smoking drugs and smoking marijuana, I just think, why would you do it? I've had a very full life, never drinking alcohol. It's a variable in my equation. I just never wanted when I was young. And maybe, again, it was a black guy who had a lot of, constantly being stopped by cops. I was like, I don't have as much margins for error as perhaps others do, but to me, it just seemed pointless that I needed to have fun. So I hear what you're saying, but I will tell you this. I would rather a system that strictly regulates, enforces, does a lot more than I see being done in some jurisdictions to protect kids, especially from accessing this serious drug. I would want a lot more research being done on alcohol and drugs and other things that we seem to have in our society that cause a lot more damage than we're talking about.
I love that he talked about the, if you're under 25 and you're doing this. So you could serve in the military for 7 years before Cory Booker thinks that you're ready to face the dangers and demons of marijuana and alcohol. That's cute.
Yeah. So the majority leader and other lawmakers are scheduled to speak in an advocacy event inside the Capitol building on the cannabis holiday 420 tomorrow. Meanwhile, Booker recently filed a bill alongside Senator Rand Paul that's meant to streamline the federal rescheduling of breakthrough therapies like psilocybin and MDMA in order to promote research and drug development. So I don't have hope for any of that. I know that's what Kyle is trying to inject us with, a little bit of hopium, but I'd rather just have weed, But anyway, Andy in the chat saying 95% white, where Cory Booker was from, where he used to run that jailhouse, So, who would have thunk that maybe he'd not like the drugs that he used to incarcerate people with? And it sounds like he just hasn't inhaled. So anything to add before we head on
Cory
to our
Booker's
next
a cancer.
Yep. I mean, could be a Sagittarius, but
I see what you did there.
It could be or Taurus. I mean, I'm not.
That's our loophole.
I'm not birthday racist. Like the way I feel about
it's good because I'm a Pisces and we're people don't
here.
like us.
Yep. Like, oh God. So
it's I swear the only birth sign that I see randomly, Twitter will be like, and it's always in my For You.
Yeah,
it's just like, oh hey, a whole bunch of people are talking about how much they would never want to date
you're
a Pisces.
Piece
How you're all
shit.
how you're all just pieces of shit. We thought you might want to see this, Jesse.
Yeah. Like it says here, I'm a go-getter today. Like anyway, so